Hello. Today I'd like to take a look at a Pinot Gris. The wine in question is Greystone's Pinot Gris. This is a 2019 vintage and this is from the Waipara region of North Canterbury in New Zealand's South Island on the east side of the island. The wine is organically produced. The Thomas family started Greystone about 20 years ago. All their wines are made organically. They liked this region because the soil types were comparable to those found in Burgundy. There's a good mix of limestone subsoils and clays. And the region is well known for producing aromatic whites, Rieslings and Pinot Gris, but also quite an elegant style of Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs. This particular wine, the vineyard was planted with specially selected clones of Pinot Gris they'd found from Greystone in Germany. Yields are kept relatively low, picking is by hand, and the winemaking is fairly straightforward. It ferments in stainless steel tanks and then ages, presumably with a degree of its yeast lees, for about 5 months before bottling. It's an off-dry style, it retains a little sweetness, and 2019, we've had this in the wine fridge here for a couple of years, so it should have had time to sort of gain a little bit of weightiness. This is not an expensive wine. Its price varies. In the domestic New Zealand market, it would probably be the equivalent of about $15 US. Overseas, that price rises to more like sort of 20, 21, 22 US dollars, depending on the market you're looking at. One of the other facets of the wine is that it's made as a wine that's vegan friendly, so there's no use of something like egg albumin, casein or isinglass to take tannins out of the wine to smooth it out. So, all fairly straightforward. So let's have a look at the wine. First of all, colour. I mean, the colour is a medium yellow. I feel it may be auto-suggestion, but with Pinot Gris, sometimes you can see a slight redness to the wine, and I think there is a slight sort of pinkish tinge to this. That would make sense, as Pinot Gris is not a hugely genetically stable variety, and you'll find even within bunches, some of them can be a medium pink colour and some of them still be green, so it's not always consistent in that way. I don't know if you can see that in there or not, but I think I can perceive a little of it. Let's have a look at the aromas. Gosh, the aromas are quite intense, almost like when you have a really juicy, slightly overripe pear. And there's a couple of things. There's the really ripe fruit. There's sort of an oiliness, almost a honeyed note to it. But then there's also lifted notes of sort of blossom and then sort of confected pear drop aromas, estery notes. And then sitting behind that and rounding all this nicely together, there's a sort of a slightly creamy dairy note that I would assume would be derived from lees aging in the tank. So all nicely together and a nice intensity. Let's have a taste. Again, a lot of what we saw with the nose follows through. There's a rich, ripe peariness. I mean, even down to, there is a little bit of sort of phenolic tannin, slightly green note there. It's almost like sort of pear skin. And then behind that, there's that sort of, when you bite into a ripe pear, there is that sort of oily texture behind it. And there is this sort of oiliness as well. The wine has reasonably fresh acidity to begin with. I'm salivating slightly, but then the richness of the fruit and the warmth of the alcohol take over. It's not particularly alcoholically hot, but there's 13.5% alcohol in this according to the bottle, and the finish is rounded and has some warmth. And it's not that the acidity keeps it going as a sort of an elegant, delicate finish. It's more rich, rounded, slightly honeyed, and the intensity of the fruit is giving it some length to continue on, and so I suppose that allows some of the the alcohol warmth to just bring out a little bit of that sort of green, slightly phenolic note on the finish there. I think as a wine, there's some high-tone perfume notes in there, and there's this sort of slight sweetness and also the intense ripeness. It's quite a powerful and slightly, I find that slightly unctuous. I think pairing this with foods, cheeses, hams, etc., would add an extra dimension to it, and would really bring out that beautiful fruit in a way that it's drinking on its own might. It might all seem a little sickly. I mean, it's a lovely wine, great value. I mean, so yes, well worth trying, well worth, as I say, keeping it for a couple of years and allowing it to fill out, round out, and just mature a little. I mean, I think it's probably good for another couple of years yet, but at 3 years old, 3 years since release, it's doing really well there. So I hope you find that interesting. I certainly think it's a great little wine there. Thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully see you again soon. Bye now.